Hello and welcome to Lost in Chronologically Lost, episode 10, where the writers have finally run out of terrible father figures, so we get some terrible mother figures instead.
Oh boy. Well, we start not on a mother figure, but on good old Desmond, who, once again, as soon as I saw it, it's like, Desmond, you found something else to dedicate yourself to, that when you should really just get a job.
It's the ultimate running away. He's gonna run across the world on a boat.
Which, okay, to be fair, once I saw that it was despite Mr. Widmore, I'm like, okay, at least, you have a reason for this, instead of just being like, I don't know what to do with myself, oh, I'll join this random contest. At least there's a reason. But still, it's like...
no, it's a really dumb reason.
Yeah, it's like...
Because, as we'll see later, Penny shows up and is basically like, I will just marry you right now. And he's like, no.
He's like his honor, but... So, like, even with there being a reason, it still just makes me think, like, if I watched the show normally, I'd know Desmond in the present, and then I'd see his past. But having only seen his past, it's just like, over and over, he has to run away from life so he finds something to stick himself into. First the monastery, then the army, and now around the world in 80 days. It's like, get a job, man. How are you paying for anything? Are you living in your car? Do you have a car? I'm worried about you, Desmond.
Well, he got a boat for free, so...
Yes, you could live on the boat.
And...
Which is...
Yeah. Did you, notice the woman who gave him the boat?
No, I did not. Who was that?
That was the same woman who is in the psych ward with Hurley in that one split screen.
Huh.
Same woman.
Huh.
And that's the explanation we'll get as to why she's in the psych ward, is because her husband died, I guess.
Is she gonna show up elsewhere? Is this like important?
I'm just saying it's the same woman.
Okay, well, I don't know if this is like, oh, this woman is an important character, or like they just put in this random connection for no reason.
Well, Lost does like to do that.
Yeah. Well, when he starts talking to this woman, I'm just like, don't obsess over another woman, man. But no, it's all Penny for him.
Oh yeah, all Penny, all the way.
Yeah.
Then we move to like a full Jack backstory.
Actually,
we're getting here finally.
I should say first, so obviously at the end of the two episodes we're covering, episode 15 and 16, we see, like, Desmond ending up on the island, and all I'm going to say is, that's at the end, but I'm going to mention it now, because I should have realized it here, because I should have known that Desmond would be on the island before the plane crash, because supposedly I know vaguely he's what caused the plane crash, because he failed to press a button and, like, electromagnetic surge or whatever. Therefore, I should have just thought, oh, this is how he ends up on the island. He goes on a boat, and we see that at the end, but I did not think of it at all until later.
Right, yeah, no, it wasn't a plane crash for him, but a shipwreck.
Yeah. Also, the lady just giving him the boat, I'm just like, what the hell, lady?
Yeah.
Her deciding this came off as crazy enough to me that I'm like, I bet she doesn't even really have a boat.
No, she has one, named after her.
Yeah, but no. Then we get Jack. So we get a car accident. They like car accidents. This show, they like con men and they like car accidents.
Well, they make for some good storytelling. So Jack has to choose between these two car crash victims, and we find that the one he doesn't choose, this man, is actually the father of a different character who will be introduced.
I like that. He might struggle with it, but he chose quickly. He did not have a breakdown. He did not freeze. He immediately chose, because you have to choose someone.
Exactly. So he manages to get the one woman of the car crash, Sarah, stabilized and fix her up in some medical scenes.
He uses the syringe and he sucks the blood out.
Right. And then we get to see the daughter of the other victim.
Yeah. And some teaching a ballet class and some random nonsense of her friend being hit on, but then it's like, oh, okay, so this is the daughter of the guy who died, which, now I'm gathering this Shannon is a major character, like, I'm assuming someone on the island, and it's interesting to me that some of the characters I'm meeting and seeing backstories for, in their first couple of scenes, I have no idea how they're gonna matter at all, because I just don't know them from the island.
Yeah, like, what's this random ballet teacher gonna do, but... So we get Jack talking to Sarah in, like, just the worst possible bedside manner.
He's like,
just telling her, like, yeah, you're just going to be paralyzed and you're fucked.
Yeah, nothing I can. There's a slight chance, but it's not going to happen. I mean, when you know it's a really slight chance, I get his dad's argument, hand out hope, but like, I don't know, man. Statistics are real.
Yeah, well, his dad puts in a good point.
do...
Like, just even if there's only 1%, you have to at least let them believe in the 1%.
Yeah, or say like, I'm gonna do my best to make it happen. You know, that's what I'd say.
Right.
But, you know, I do wonder if the episode this flashback takes place during has something like Jack being the leader on the island, and maybe as the leader he also has to start to learn to give them some hope, like maybe hope that they will be able to leave the island. That seems like something that maybe would be written to tie in.
Yeah, well, these flashbacks do tend to tie into what happens on the island, so...
Yeah. So I figured I'd start really trying to give some guesses for that, since it's interesting.
Right. Then we get Shannon at her father's funeral, and I don't know if you really... It was... whatever, but the man who shows up, Boone, is her stepbrother.
Yeah, I thought they're step-siblings, and they had a very strange, slightly sexual tension between them that made me uncomfortable.
Well, you picked up those clues correctly.
Oh no. Oh no.
I mean, I don't know when their parents got married, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know. No, I did not, I would assume their parents had they were not young when they got married. I'm not saying it's immoral, it just made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but anyway, her stepbrother is... Well, I mean, her stepbrother's just so attractive that he got to be the lead star in a different serial drama later that I didn't watch because it was about vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. My mother watched that incessantly until it got canceled. Anyway, we find out that Shannon is up for this dance company internship, so I sure hope that goes well for her and doesn't get ruined.
Oh, yeah, that's how Lost backstories go. That's how backstories in general go.
Right. And there's a lot of flashing between here simply because Shannon and Jack's backstories in time happen so close to each other due to starting at the same car crash.
I mean, I gathered kind of that... Well, there's some parts where I can see how they figured out how to sync them up. You just look at how many days this is after the crash, you estimate. But then some subplots seem like they kind of just interwove scenes for the flow of the episodes.
I think they did do that because every time I've checked the wiki for the timeline, it disagrees with what the order it presented in Chronologically Lost is.
Yeah. I think in episode 16, some things are just... I don't know, what was it? Let me look through my notes. Just some plot lines where we alternated back and forth, Kate's plot line and Juliet's plot lines are just they could have been all at once instead of switching between their scenes, but switching their scene betweens gave them the kind of flow that they would have if the show was produced this way.
Exactly. So Jack is talking to Sarah's fiance, who's a trash bag.
Oh yeah, he's like, so will we be able to have sex then?
Garbage. And so Jack goes to the surgery room to try and fix Sarah up, and she's
like, let me tell you a secret. It's okay. I don't know.
Yeah, he sees that he has completely deprived her of all hope that she's gonna get better. But then he says, I will fix you. So, and well, as we'll see later, he does somehow.
Yeah, somehow. So then we get Shannon. She gets the phone call. It's like, yay! She gets a letter. And it's like, yay! I got in. And then she gets the phone call, and her rent bounced. She goes to talk to her stepmom, and it's just like, no, Will, and just like, nope, I'm not going to give you any money, which is just... There are a lot of frustrating lines of dialogue here. Like we all have to work, and your dad, maybe he wanted you to work, when it's like he died. It's like, this week it was this, last year you wanted that. It's like, you are taking the money her father would have left her when he died, and all I can think is, you could absolutely sue her for this.
Yeah, I think legally you can. I remember hearing things where people in their wills, they will leave people $1 because if they don't leave them anything, they can sue for they just...
Or it's like here there isn't even a will, so it's just like I'm related to lawyers, and I'll say, as from a point of minor authority there, I will say I'm pretty sure if there wasn't even a will, you can sue and say, like, okay, but it would be reasonable for them to leave their kids something and support them. And the court is going to say, yeah, you should have gotten something. Yeah. I mean, I'll give Shannon this. It would definitely be a drawn-out legal process, so you kind of... having to go through that would kind of take away the opportunity of going to the dance internship.
Boone shows up to try and help Shannon, but the stepmom is just a complete controlling bitch to...
Yeah, it's like, nope, I won't give you money for her, but I'll give you a job.
Yeah. And so they get in some...
It's like, why is... It's like, at a certain point, it's like, why are you so insistent on this? Why are you... It's like...
Because she's trash. Because people are just trash like that. Like, this is how it is. Anyway, then we get Desmond showing up to the stadium to go run some steps when Penny shows up.
It's like... And so what I have to wonder right now is, like... So she remembers the whole phone number thing, and he doesn't, right?
Yes.
Which, it would be really funny if she was like, hey, what was the deal with that anyway?
This is the issue with having some flashbacks later than others.
Yeah. I'm sure that the whole phone number thing was in a later season.
I believe that was, like, his last flashback. So, like...
I mean, it was only kind of a flashback anyway, right?
Yeah, it's confusing.
Time travel, mentally. But anyway, she's like, why didn't you write? And he doesn't tell her that her father intercepted all the letters, and it is kind of like... I would have told her, but I get why he didn't, because like he would feel bad for turning her against her dad.
Right. Before that, though, she does say a really interesting line, which is that with enough money and determination, you can find anyone. Maybe that's something.
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't thinking about that. I don't even know what you're alluding to. Yeah, but for a moment, so obviously this is an important flashback because it is how he washes up on the island. But not realizing yet, I was just watching this and being like, a race around the world? What the hell is this flashback? Is this his weird season 3 flashback plotline?
No, I don't. Desmond doesn't have a weird season 3 flashback because he wasn't introduced in season 1, so they had more to work with.
Oh.
I guess his weird. What was the season? Oh, it's a dream one. That's why you haven't seen his. Probably the weirdest one.
The dream is so the dream is during that.
Yeah, it's weird.
And he says about his honor, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like honor. The thing about the honor is that if you were proving it to yourself, it'd be one thing, but you're trying to prove it to Charles Widmore. I feel like there's not that much honor in that. Who cares what Widmore thinks?
Right, which is basically what Penny says. She all but tells him, like, I'll leave my fiancé and get with you, like, right now. And he's just like, no.
Yeah. So then we have this scene, they're running up the stadium, and I have a really weird reaction to this, in that, is this scene, like, referencing something, like, just the shots from the distance, someone running up a stadium? Is that, like, a cliche or, like, a trope in, like, some kind of thing? Because I swear to God, like, many years ago when I was young, I have so little memory of this, but it just feels like I saw this exact scene randomly on TV at some point of, like, someone running up the stadium, and then, like, 2 people running up the stadium. Like, if they're just doing, like, a kind of thing that you'll have seen a shot like this in some movie somewhere, maybe that's what I saw.
Maybe you saw this episode.
Yeah, I don't know why this was so familiar to me. I definitely don't remember... Like, I definitely didn't remember it as, I watched a tiny bit of Lost. I just remembered this... And I don't know if it's just... It's so vague that it might just be a fake memory. I don't know.
Well, you never know. I might cut this out. I had a similar feeling with the show G Gundam, where I thought I had never seen any Gundam, and I watched so many years, and I get up to the 1994 season, and then all of a sudden I'm watching this episode, and I'm like, I think I've seen this before, and I like unlocked some repressed memory that I had seen a single episode of one of the shows at one point when I was like 6.
How? Yeah, like, was it on TV?
It was on TV when I was about that age, which is how I figured it out. But
See, that's how I was with the Lupin the Third movie, and yeah, you can cut this out. But that's how I was with the Lupin the Third movie we watched together, Castle of Cagliostro, where I mentioned it while we were watching it. But there were a couple specific scenes that I knew I saw at some point, and but I like for growing up, I was like, I know there's something. I think it was a Ghibli movie, but I just did not know what it was specifically. And then as time went on, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was Lupin. That was probably Fujiko Mine, who I remembered. And then when we watched the movie together, I was like, oh, yep, this was exactly it. And that was really satisfying for me.
Also, Fujiko really imprinted on you at a young age. That explains a lot.
Oh, but you're gonna sure assume that.
Right, but anyways, we get a whole thing with Jack and Desmond meeting.
Yeah. Which, I gotta say, Desmond is acting like the wise one who has his shit together here, and I don't think he's earned that.
See, that's the thing. Desmond's the kind of guy who can give other people really good advice, but when it comes to himself, he picks the worst option all the time.
Oh, okay. See, I can. That's a reasonable way for a character to be. I guess I haven't gotten to see that because I've mostly gotten Desmond on his own in his flashbacks, not really interacting with the cast.
They basically talk about Sarah.
But like Desmond is like, oh, it's about a girl. I'm like, dude, it's about a surgery patient. You're making it like that.
But a girl patient,
not
right?
Not everyone obsesses over girls quite in the way you do, Desmond.
Yeah, but Jack is, so.
Yeah, but Jack is just obsessing over a patient. Come on.
And so he basically gives Jack some advice of, don't lose hope, believe in miracles and everything. And then before they leave, says, see you in another life. So
yeah, and oh yeah, that's such a line for the viewers. Mm-hmm. And I do have to wonder, like, are Jack and Desmond gonna eventually remember this meeting on the island?
Right. Well, I mean, is there any reason they wouldn't remember? It's not like there was any mental. Yeah.
It was dark.
Yeah, but they were sitting right next to each other. They saw each other's faces.
It was dark enough that I took a moment to realize it was Jack.
You couldn't forget that accent, though.
That is true.
Right, so Jack goes back to Sarah, and she asks what happened, and he says, oh, I sprained my ankle, and she goes, that really sucks for you. Like...
But also, she just asks about her fiancé, and she mentions his name was Kevin, and it's like, of course his name was Kevin.
Fucking Kevin.
I know a couple of Kevins. One of them, alright. Another Kevin I knew, like, super cliche Kevin.
The only Kevin I knew who was, like, my rival enemy in 8th grade. Like, it would start with stealing stealing each other's pencils, and by the end of the year, it would be when the other person's not looking, we took their entire binder and threw it in the storeroom.
Oh, damn. See... Okay, we're gonna go off topic, and you can edit this out. Sorry, but I was totally like a pencil stealer just for the sake of it in like middle school. But then I found out my brother had an enemy like that in like early high school, and then at some point he did something, and my brother just like instead of like trying to be like not caring, my brother just like got upset, called out the teacher, and like made the teacher scold him in a way that was like, yeah, my brother was tattling, but it was like totally just shit on the other guy with like the teacher
what
get
we would
punished.
do is we would like to gaslight the other one, which is we'd take a pencil and then we'd look for the pencil, go, where is it? And say, you took it, didn't you? And then we go, nope. And then when we would continue looking, we would surreptitiously place the pencil back.
Oh yeah. Well, see, I didn't have enemies. I just did that kind of thing because I was a little rascal.
Jack talks to Sarah and says that he's very sorry because he failed. He didn't fix her up properly, but she can wiggle her toes.
You hit me so hard. You hit me so hard with that Canadian ass sorry.
Oh my! Shut up.
Sometimes
it's Canada Day as we're recording this, so
Anyway, yeah, she wiggles her toes, which is see, this scene would have been shot very differently if it was a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh God! Don't. Why would you have to say that? Why? You didn't have to put that image into my head.
That wasn't even in my notes. That just suddenly popped into my head.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well.
But yeah, now we get Sawyer, and with another girl, and it feels so similar to what we saw him do before. And yeah, he's pulling the exact same scam, same lines, but she just calls him on it, and it's fake cash.
Yeah. Oh, this is Sawyer backstory I actually like.
Oh yeah, this is good. For a moment, I was like, wait, was it also fake cash the first time? And he just, like fake cash the first time, too, and he was, like, willing to give it to them overnight, trusting they wouldn't even really check. It's like, no, oh yeah, no. He borrowed the cash.
Right, but now he doesn't have cash to borrow, so he has to use some newspaper.
Yeah. And she just calls it out completely what the scam is, and he just admits it. And she's like, I want in. Also, so she says, I got nothing in the divorce, which we later find out is a lie. But see, what I started to realize is Sawyer, he had his whole arc where he was like, I don't want to do to this kid what happened to me. And he took the wrong lesson from that, and his solution was to simply con divorced people so there's no chance of it ruining a kid's life.
Genius. Absolute five-head play right here. But yeah, I love how she calls it immediately. She's like, oh really? It just happened to fall open and I can just happen to see all this cash and you're going to tell me about some investment deal? And I say, yeah. I've got the money for it. Like,
yeah, but then, so we see Kate waiting and some guy comes home. Honestly, when this guy first appeared in the dark, I was like, wait, is that Jacob? No, it was not.
No, I wished it was Jacob. Like,
I consistently in this episode, I keep not quite recognizing people when it's dark.
Yeah, you need to get better eyesight.
You have glasses, I don't.
Right, but I'm also nearsighted, so I don't use them when watching out my computer screen. Anyway, so this, stepdad is, as all stepdads are, absolute garbage, and people can fight me on this,
you just
and
have
I
to throw
won't
that
care.
in. No, you're right. You know what? You have the right to say that.
So,
but yeah,
Kate does the right thing. I just want to say here, for whatever romance nonsense or maybe annoying nonsense on the island that Kate is going to get up to, we stand Kate on this podcast. So,
yeah, sure, I'm with you there. This was, and see, Kate. On the island, she just seemed like a normal enough-ish girl.
You haven't seen the worst of it, though.
Well, see, the thing is, she seemed like a normal enough-ish girl, but then we had that line where it's like, oh, she would be in handcuffs if we never crashed on the island. I'm like, I wonder why, and now I'm starting to see it.
Yeah, it's just so unfortunate, because, let's be real, it should just be legal to kill someone if they're just a terrible person, honestly. And I'm not going to argue about that because I'm right. So, moving on.
I won't. All right, I won't. I'll have things to say about Kate, but I won't argue with you on that. But, yeah, so she goes to her ma, and for a moment I didn't realize it was her mother, and frankly they look nothing alike. But I didn't realize it was her mother because I thought this was some small town thing and she just calls her ma.
Nope, that's her actual mother.
Yeah, it's just like, I got the insurance, I dealt with it, and she's like, what the hell did you do?
And, I hate this character just from the bottom of my soul. Just absolute worst mom of all time.
I don't know, I mean, I see her side. I mean, she's framed as the villain in this plot line, and I'm not gonna say she's perfect, but,
look, she's gonna be like the villain in all of Kate's backstory plot lines, honestly.
Oh, really? This is gonna be consistent.
At least it's with the marshal. Least with the marshal, because obviously he's after her, right? At least it's okay, he's doing his job, and they have a sort of fun rivalry. The mom, everything about her just is so depressing and sad.
See, I think we'll talk about that when we get to her, a later scene with her, because I have things to say about that scene specifically. We see Sawyer and Cassidy scamming, and they have this whole selling cheap necklaces where they make them seem expensive with the price tags, and she comes up to buy one to bait the other guys to buy them, which that's the kind of scam I'd expect to see at a gas station.
Right, and then they have some whole scene where they talk about trying to do some long con, and I just have to say, during this entire scene, Sawyer is talking while brushing his teeth, which is just absolutely disgusting. I have a thing about that. I can't.
Oh my God.
I cannot see or hear someone brushing their teeth because it just makes me repulsed inside. I just can't handle it.
I didn't notice he was doing that, but now I'm like, wait, you talk while brushing your teeth? Are you using enough toothpaste? That isn't you're gonna accidentally swallow it, man. But anyway, what I have to say about this is that Cassidy is so using her towel to cover her breasts purely for the camera.
Oh, absolutely. That's the way the scene actually happened is she's naked. Like...
But so... She actually has 600 grand, and he's like, damn, let's just go find an island somewhere. I'm like, okay, that's another line for the viewers.
Yeah, exactly.
And around here, I start thinking, like, I'm not sure I'm very into Sawyer backstories, because they're tense, they're anxious, they make me like, oh, they're lying, are they going to get found out? And, I mean, that can be good when something really is focused on it, but it's just a backstory. I'm like, oh, no, get me to a scene that's more calm.
But instead of getting a more calm scene, you instead get a scene of Kate trying to get away from a federal agent.
Because it's like I'm the kind of guy who, when there's a scene of somebody sneaking into a room they're not supposed to be in, then I get so anxious, that kind of thing.
Right. So
I want to say I had a thought right during this scene where I thought, nothing ever goes right. For all I know, Cassidy is a cop who's trying to entrap him in something so they can arrest him because they know he's a con man. So I just have maybe she's a cop in my mind. And then the very next scene, we get this guy talking to Kate from behind. I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy is a cop.
So this is going to be her rival kind of guy in her backstories. But he's the kind of, villain where it's like, I do kind of like him just because...
You respect him.
Yeah,
he's not doing anything wrong.
Exactly, yeah. He never does anything that's, really evil. He's just the cop trying to catch the criminal. But basically, she gets caught because, as he tells her that her mom gave her up because her mom is garbage.
You shouldn't talk. First of all, Kate, never talk to the police. Guilty or not, never talk to the police. You have the right. But he's baiting her so hard.
He points it out. He's like, "Oh yeah, you wouldn't want to incriminate yourself after you planned it so carefully. It's not like we have mountains of evidence against you."
He's baiting it. He's baiting her so hard, and then instead the car just crashes and she escapes, kicks him out of the car.
Yeah, well, it was crashed by trying to avoid this black horse.
What's with the horse? Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of those things where it's like, what's with the horse? They never explain the horse. It's gonna be a thing, and they never explain it.
How could you explain the horse?
Oh no, trust me, that horse is gonna come back.
Oh, really?
And it's not. They never explain it. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, if it comes back, then
it comes back, but there's no explanation.
Right,
it's just
a horse. It's a horse in the same way where sometimes a character will just appear in more than one backstory, as we're about to see with Diane. So a horse can appear in more than one backstory. It's just the Lost Riders like that. So it's no more than that, basically, then. But yeah, Kate's mom, Diane, is working at this cafe where Sawyer meets another con artist. And I didn't see it coming, but the entire thing was they knew she had the 600 grand. It was all the teaching her everything. It was all to get this money.
Right, yeah. If you watch this episode normally, you kind of know it's coming because the episode is titled The Long Con.
Yeah, Sawyer saying he loves her, and the guy's like, it's your hormones, which the guy is right. And that's also Desmond's problem.
Oh, absolutely.
But a random thought occurred to me. I wonder if this is the same guy who conned Sawyer's dad.
You think so?
I think that it wouldn't be out of the question for the show to have that specific person come back and for Sawyer to even work with them because Sawyer just kind of messed up in the head by it all, but maybe Sawyer could also be planning a revenge. I don't think that would be out of the question. Maybe it's not this guy, though. Well, there's the ending of the episode then where, he goes and he tells her the truth and he says the guy's in the car, he's gonna shoot us, you have to go. But there's, at the moment where you see there's nobody in the car, I'm just like, damn.
Yeah, he really took all her money. Just cold-blooded.
It's not even like, for all I know, he was lying to him, too, just as his way of, making the guy not realize that he was actually taking it all for himself.
Yeah, there's just so much lies in all of this. It's hard to piece together. But moving on to episode 16. So episode 16 begins with a huge just bait of a scene because you have Juliet staring out at a beach and you have her walking through. You even have her seeing... I thought it
was the island. I thought she was already...
Right, yeah. And you see Ethan, as you would eventually find out in this episode, that is Ethan now.
Yeah, they just pass by each other and you're just like, hello. Ethan, kind of guy who comes off a little off-putting.
Oh, he's
creepy.
creepy.
He seems
he's
nice,
full-on creepy.
but he comes off as off-putting, and just his single hello came off as off-putting very efficiently.
Right, and she sort of injects her sister with some meds and stuff, and then we get the reveal that no, this is Hawaii.
They're like, they specifically
or not Hawaii,
say,
I'm sorry, Miami.
Miami. They specifically use the words like, we're in Miami.
Yeah, and she opens the window to big dramatic shot that she's in Miami.
But then as soon as we get that, they mention like the Middelos, and we get Dr. Alpert, so we know we're seeing how it happened.
And I finally looked this up. Metalos Laboratories, also the thing that they tried to use to recruit Locke when he was a teenager, is an anagram for lost time. So.
Oh. Time lost.
Yeah. either one. Anyway, so she is sneaking into her workplace, laboratory, research facility. I don't know what to call that thing.
Yeah.
And
research lab.
Yeah, and gets caught by her ex-husband, who is trash.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming in with a woman, and it's just like... Also, the actor playing her ex-husband, he was in a movie called 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which was a great movie. I don't remember his character, but I just remember everybody's acting was great in there, so he's a good actor.
Yeah, for like the 4 scenes he'll be in here.
Yeah.
And then we get Kate visiting her dad, only to find out that her stepdad was her biological father, which is just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, because you could tell what he wanted when he was drunk. He's disgusting. And the deduction, this is like the first time I'm even finding out about it, but like the deduction was cool. She found out from the photos, and I like that he's willing to talk to her, which I guess is the contrast we can draw with her mother.
Yeah, and but she also even says to him like that he should have killed the stepfather, which I'm like, you know what?
Honestly, I have something to say.
Yes.
I have something to say about that too. Firstly, the fact that he's willing to talk to her, when she leaves, he's willing to give her an hour, is like, he believes in what's right, he knows she's a murderer, but she's also his daughter, and there's a nuance to how he feels, which her mother isn't really giving her. Her mother isn't willing to talk to her mother. Her mother is just, like, I would have expected her mother to, go seek her out, have a conversation, be like, why did you do this? Not immediately call the police. So I agree I can't say her mother is wrong for saying, you are a murderer, that is wrong. She's fine. I respect your viewpoint, but my viewpoint is, I understand the mother on that, but she is also... That is the fact that Kate is a murderer is not everything, because Kate is also her daughter, and she's not acting like that.
Okay, we'll just move on.
Well, the other thing I have to say is Kate just tells her father, so why didn't you kill him? And just here's what I have in my notes. So Kate, there is this thing called normal person mindset. And I understand how you would not have gotten that growing up, and don't blame you for it, because you were being raised by Wayne. Like, I don't think this is your fault that is how you're thinking about this. That's not on you. And so we get Juliet, working in the lab, and then the woman that Ed was having sex with is there. It's like, do you work here? It's like, I'm the new research assistant. And the age-old question, did Ed have sex with her first and then give her a job? Or did he hire her for a job and then have sex with her? There's no good answer.
The real answer is that it doesn't matter, because either order is basically the same thing.
Yeah. Either order should get... See, when he calls her in, I'm like, oh shit, is he gonna fire her? But really, he should be fired. But then he's like, I want in, and... This is not like she's selling meth. On what?
Well, the point is that it's extremely unethical research, but that it's probably going to work, so they can make a lot of money off of it.
Isn't it unethical in the sense that she's testing it on like a random person, not like through a formal study, which is true.
There's a lot of ethics she's breaking here.
Yes, and she's stealing, of course, like you should do it through formal study, but her sister is, like, agreeing to it. It's not meeting ethical standards, but I would not call it morally bad.
Right. There's a whole thing that the whole scientific thing. I remember even just taking some courses just about in the soft sciences in anthropology. And half of that course is basically just telling you how it was like, well, previous anthropologists were just like absolute trash humans who did super unethical things. And it feels like they really overcorrected in that department now. Where like the ethics board is like 80% of your work now as an anthropologist.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's like I can see that as overcorrecting in the sense that like.
Well, the one thing that really stood out to me is that
you're in the class to learn anthropology, not to learn ethics.
Right, but the thing that stood out to me was, if you take all these interviews of a group of people and they just answer things and then they come back later and say, no, we don't want you to talk about this. You have to just not talk about it, which I'm like, but what? That seems like you should be talked about even if it's something bad. Like, you should get the full picture.
Yeah, I can see that that's a case where, like, I wouldn't draw the line where the ethics board does. I mean, it was similar in my psychology and sociology classes, especially sociology. It's all like, all these systems are ostensibly in there for good reasons. Yeah, but then...
Anyway, so Juliet gets a meeting with Albert, who wants Juliet to come work in their facility.
And he shows her some images of everyone happy they're working, which it's either ridiculously photoshopped or has really weird bright lighting.
Yeah, I don't know.
They just look silly.
Right, and he also asks her to examine some wombs, and she's like, okay, well, this looks like this woman is about 70, and he goes, actually, she's 26. So...
Yeah, which, I think this is setting up the whole nobody could give birth on the island thing, which is probably why they're recruiting her.
Right, but...
And I mean, at this point, it's clear, like, this is where her plotline's gonna go. She's gonna end up there by the end.
Right, but
also,
have you pieced together why they can't give birth on the island?
I don't think I have.
Right, you can't think of anything that happened between the successful birth we saw of Ethan and now. Any sort of major event that could...
The gas?
No.
The nuclear bomb?
Yes.
So it's just radiation.
But it's radiation mixed with magical electromagnetism.
All right,
and it also means that Juliet caused the problem that she's now being recruited to solve.
I'm not letting you skip over the fact that Albert mentioned she successfully impregnated a male field mouse.
Yeah.
This means that mpreg is canon in Lost.
He didn't carry to term, so it doesn't count.
Just because someone doesn't carry to term doesn't mean they weren't pregnant.
But yeah, so there's a whole thing of why can't they give birth, and it's basically just because of the incident thing, which also means that it's Juliet's fault they can't give birth, and now she is being recruited in the future to fix it.
So when they said like, maybe what keeps people, when she's saying like, oh, every time I tried to give birth on this island it fails, like maybe it hasn't happened yet. Okay, that was very literal. I wasn't sure how literally to take that.
Exactly, right. And it's kind of a thing like, because we also saw Rousseau, clearly she gave birth on the island, but it's more that, if you arrive on the island and you're like, deep into pregnancy, you'll be fine, because you're only going to be there for a short time before you give birth. But, like, getting pregnant and carrying all the way through is, pretty unlikely. Because as I said, their wombs look like that of a 70-year-old, so...
So we see, like, all her research was to help her... I mean, it was somewhat alluded to, but now it's more clear. Like, her research was to help her sister get pregnant. And it was kind of unclear. It became clear, but at first I was unsure, like, wait, is she just infertile? I thought it was cancer because she seemed bald, but then it's like, oh no, it was the cancer and the chemotherapy made her infertile. But it's like, it became clear. And not much to say about that scene, I think, like...
Right, well, they also try to recruit her, and she gives a whole bunch of reasons why she can't. And essentially, like, well, yeah, sure, if my ex-husband was hit by a bus, that would work. Like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, then we get the quick scene where, we see Ed on the phone with his mom, and he's like, because you're insufferable, and you're mean. Well, you asked me for the truth, Mom.
I love
and
hilarious
then he gets hit by the
background
bus.
phone conversations like that. They're like my favorite thing.
Which, and it says so much about his character right before he dies that that's how he talks to his mom, but also about him that like maybe his mom is like that, and that's kind of what made him grow up this way. It's not just him.
Right, but anyway.
But either way, there we go. He's about to be He's about to be reincarnated in a fantasy world.
No, please no.
Anyway, so good job, Richard.
Took that very literally.
She goes there to the morgue, and Richard shows up with Ethan.
Juliet she starts putting two and two together.
She puts two together, and then he says, don't blame yourself, where it's like, she's maybe blaming you, because, let's be real, I have no idea how, but if Richard asked me to believe that he somehow has the mystical powers to make someone get hit by a bus, I would believe him.
I don't think it's mystical powers. I think they just have resources to just run someone over with a bus. I don't think it's magical. I think they just got someone to drive a bus.
I mean, they had astoundingly good timing then, but either way, Richard is capable of many things.
Eventually, then they ask her, or she asks, like, where exactly is this thing? Because nobody has ever been. He's like, well, we're not quite in Portland. Which is like... Yeah, maybe several thousand miles away.
Frankly, the island seems like a better place to live than Portland. Right now, at least.
Right, but now we're going to get another Kate storyline where she meets Cassidy.
Yeah, Cassidy's selling the necklaces.
But she doesn't have the accomplice to help sell it. So Kate steps in.
And Kate helps her, but gets her money back because and Cassidy notices that Kate didn't want them calling the cops. And, I started wondering, like, do the writers really like Cassidy, or was this in, like, 2 separate seasons where it was kind of fan service to bring Cassidy back?
I think so. I think it might have been 2 separate seasons.
Because, out of all the flashback characters, Cassidy is getting a lot of attention and a lot of, like, just, like, look how cool she is. Look at how smart she is,
Well, Lost also just likes to throw side characters around.
Yeah. Some character... I mean, yeah, it could just have happened on its own because the writers thought they were writing someone interesting, or maybe the crew really liked working with the actress. It could be a lot of things, but... Yeah, she is just, I guess, right now, is she the most prominent flashback-only character? I mean, we've seen more of, like, Anthony Cooper that's just in only one backstory.
I guess if you're counting between backstories, then yes. I mean, unless you want to count Richard Albert, because he's in a lot of...
Oh, yeah. Well, that's...
Or Jacob, because
isn't he
stopping by everyone's.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Kate, she wants to talk to her mom, find out why, and we hear Cassidy's side of the story about Sawyer, and she calls him a bad guy. So, fair enough. He did act pretty trash.
Oh yeah, he fucking got her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have to say, were you faked out by the scene where Cassidy goes to check out?
I thought it was like in my notes. I say, Kate found her mom. Oh, the police were right there and ready. Ha ha ha. They fucking got her. Oh, nope, it was Cassidy.
Yeah. And,
pretending she's selling Bibles.
Considering they're in some southern state, I can't imagine that's a bad alibi. Like...
Yeah.
I also have to...
And Kate is, like, looking in the distance from her car, where I kind of feel like she was close enough that, like, the marshal might just look over and see her.
Yeah, I thought that, too. I think it's, like, she should have been farther away, and they just didn't have the location set up for it.
Just whatever.
Also, I like that you get to see more of this sort of rivalry with the Marshall, because when Cassie comes back, she's like, what the hell did you do to him? He questioned me for like an hour about selling Bibles. Like, he's really got it out for her after she punched him in the face and crashed his car and left him on the side of the road.
He's a good guy, but he also really wants to get her now.
Cassidy, she gets told all the details of the murder, which is like, again, I stand Kate. Look, hashtag free Kate, like, honestly.
So then Cassidy goes to, like, the plan amounts to knocking soup on Diane, so she goes to the bathroom. Where I expected her to have some clever maneuver where she sneaks a note into her hand or her pocket or something, and so just get soup on her.
Yep, just spill some soup. Anyway, and then we get to see how Kate's mom somehow manages to be even more trash than she first appeared. So...
Yeah, and she's like, you killed him, you're a murderer, and look, I get it, but you're not acting like a mother at all here.
Yeah, especially because she says, like, oh, you can't choose who you love. It's like, yeah, but you're also supposed to love your children. Like...
Yes, that's the thing, like, you can't choose who you love. I'm sorry, but why the fuck would you love that guy? I'm sorry, but love is love, but come
First
on
off,
now.
one,
that guy
you can. Two, you should choose your children first. Like...
3, come on now. That guy was beating you, that guy was drunk, that guy probably would have fucked his own daughter. That guy was the worst. Just from seeing he was a drunk, from seeing a little bit of him, I feel like we saw enough. Yeah, you can't help who you love, but like, come on, that doesn't absolve him of criticism.
Yeah, Kate's mom is just trash, like, honestly. Back to Juliet, she actually goes to Metalos Bioscience and says goodbye to her sister. And I just want to point out, they're at sort of the Herarat Airlines, and Herarat is an anagram for Earhart. And I looked it up. Apparently, like some side material thing that never shows up in the show in any capacity. It's mentioned that that's where the island is, where Amelia Earhart landed. Of course.
Oh yeah, of course. How could it not be?
Exactly. Also, just a funny thing. I remember something saying that if they actually got canceled in their first season, which they were expecting to, the end series plot twist to explain everything would be that the island was actually in the Bermuda Triangle. Like...
Oh, come on.
I know.
Weren't they flying over the Pacific?
Exactly. That would have been the twist. Which I'm glad it wasn't. I still much rather prefer magical light at the island, Jacob, Jesus, man, whatever. That's still better. And Juliet points out how sketchy they are, because she's like, no one has ever heard of you.
Yeah, and I like how we see the whole others recruitment process fleshed out. Like, it just, like, if the backstory could have skipped over this, or Juliet's backstory could have been some completely different thing that still worked for her character. But I like that it was this, because this is just a part of how, like, this world works that I hadn't gotten to see before. So now the whole thing fits together better for me.
Yeah, exactly. So this is how she was here for 3 years before everything else.
And Richard is pouring juice, and I honestly thought, I wonder if this juice will be drugged. And then he just pours in a powder.
Yeah, but it's not suspicious. She's like, what is that? He's like, oh, it's orange juice with a lot of tranquilizer in it. So
you're gonna want to be tranquilized.
Yeah, and
anyway, and she just he convinces her by saying, like, this is gonna be special. And she just chugs it.
I mean, the island is a very special place.
Yeah, no, but she just chugs the juice. Like, you shouldn't have drunk that so fast. Ethan comes off as off-putting. And maybe when I see him in different situations, that will be negative, and I will understand his negative qualities. But for the moment, the way he comes off as off-putting is just kind of, but he's nice enough and earnest, so, like, I'm not going to judge him for that. She wakes up, like, strapped in and is like, what the hell? And he's like, oh, no, don't worry. That was just for you, to keep you safe. I'll unstrap you right now. You'll be fine. Watch your head.
Right, I have to wonder why they put her in the top bunk and not the bottom one. You'd think that would be easier.
Maybe Ethan wanted the bottom bunk.
Yeah.
Do you really need to be tranquilized for submarine trips? I mean,
it's
I don't
also
know
so that they don't find out where the island is.
I mean, you could just... I feel like if I was in a submarine, maybe I would wander into the control room and look at the navigation equipment. I don't know how to read navigation equipment. And if they just said, "Oh, you can't go in there," I'd be like, "Oh, sure."
They're very secretive.
Being in the submarine, I feel like that wouldn't tell me anything. You know what? But yeah, she gets to the island.
She meets Benny
boy, who also comes off as off-putting.
Right, and we get one last little button on the story with Kate, where she says, "Okay, well, you helped me with my thing, so let's help you get revenge on the guy who took your money." But Cassidy says she won't, especially since she is pregnant now, and it's Sawyer's.
And it's like, wow, see, Sawyer, now instead of being the con man ruining a child's life, you're the con man who's a shitty father.
Exactly.
Wait, what were the names mentioned, like, ages ago? Was Sawyer one who was implied to have a kid, or was that someone else?
No, they talked about Sawyer's kid.
Oh, man, I totally forgot about that until now.
Clementine is her name that they mentioned.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah, they mentioned that.
Okay. So this connects. So this is explaining that. Or maybe that came later.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was way later.
That this just occurred to me. So that'll come back. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then we see Juliet in therapy after she's been here
with
for
the
a
worst
week.
Therapist who takes everything in the most negative possible light.
And then it's like, what's even they're clearly not telling her everything of how the others work at this point, and they're kind of just using the facility for Dharma, and they're basically pretending to be in, like, the others used to be, these forest people, these guerrilla types in the, like, secret group sense, and now they're just, like, basically pretending to be Dharma. They're pretending to be this nice happy facility, even though they're not government run anymore. They made a point of how they were private. And so, yeah, Juliet doesn't know a thing yet.
Right. And, okay, so Ben shows Juliet her house, and he says, oh, 2 beds, 2 baths. And I'm like, are you insane? Look at that house. If that house has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, there is no other rooms in that house. Like, it is too small. They really try to...
Maybe it has a basement.
Houses are not large enough for this. And she also says, she was like, oh, but I'm only going to be here for 6 months. And he just goes, yeah. So we know it's going to be a lot longer than 6 months, considering she said 3 years.
But yeah, and then after that we get Desmond shipwrecking, because of course Desmond wasn't going to succeed at this race around the world he was only training for a year.
Right,
and we see all these messy, flashy memories where he's getting picked up, and people in hazmat suits. At first, like, oh yeah, the others will pick him up. Now I'm like, oh, just one person. Yeah. Well, with the whole like double fading in and out, and different scenes fading. I thought it was a whole group of people in hazmat suits.
Just one person, and it's Mr. Krabs from Kate or from
I didn't. When I first saw him, I was like, shit, I know I recognize this guy, but I forget from where. And then I asked you, and you told me, yup, it's Mr. Krabs, which I don't know what came first, this or Saeed's backstory, but
I think Saeed's.
I guess maybe he's not part of the others. I have no idea what he's doing here. No idea how things will go with Desmond after this. It's weird.
It is. It's really weird. Okay, but now we're to the end here, and now you finally see sort of a full flashback with Jack, and you've seen like 2 with Kate and 1 really with Juliet. So you're really getting rounded out with more characters. This is going to be kind of a harder experience for you, I think, just to keep it all in your head, because obviously as the natural story would go, characters would get introduced and some people would die or they would leave, and the more characters get introduced. Yeah. Here you're going to get everyone introduced, and then so you're going to have like 800 characters,
and some of them won't even be there in season 1.
Exactly.
I mean, and it's like some of them are just new to me. Like, I had no idea who Shannon was. So
yeah, you got introduced to Shannon and Boone.
These episodes were good. Desmond got better just because what was happening with him was, a little more interesting. But in general, nobody has topped Locke's backstory, and nobody has topped the emotions and frustration of Michael's backstory.
Yeah, those are going to be something, you still have to keep a mind out for the characters who just don't show up for a few episodes, because that's just how it's staggered.
The timelines. I think I enjoyed Sawyer's. I wouldn't say I loved it, and I didn't feel that much for Shannon's, but in part, like, Shannon's hasn't gone anywhere yet. We saw a low point for Shannon, and we didn't see, the next step for her. Where the next step is kind of what I would have, even if I didn't know we weren't going to see more in these episodes, just during those scenes, I would have guessed that it's the next step for Shannon that would be interesting.
Right. This was...
And,
The sort of flashback you see here for Shannon, it corresponded really well with what was happening on the island. But without the island part, it just kind of feels like just a sad low point for her.
Yeah. Huh.
Okay,
So then,
we're at the end here. So I just want to say, as we've been ending this every time,
well, I also wanted to finish going through the other backstories, because I like Jack. I'm not that into the medical drama kind of thing.
Oh, that's a shame. That's going to be his whole backstory.
I mean, I'm not like hating it, but it's just not really my thing. You know, scenes is like, oh, I'm trying to save the car crash woman or just do the surgery. Doesn't appeal. So I think for me, the highlight this one was probably Juliet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's
likable, interesting stuff. Got some Richard stuff. Got to see some other stuff. It was interesting. I was into it.
Yeah, so now at least we have one character who's really on the island we'll get to see two characters actually with Desmond. So we'll get to see more island stuff as this is progressing on.
I mean, there's 3 years ahead of us. We might get none of it in the next 2 episodes, for all I know.
Well, I mean, you really think they're just gonna not pick up on that Desmond cliffhanger there?
Yeah, I guess that's... I feel like we could time skip ahead for Juliet, but Desmond, yeah, we gotta see more. And maybe Desmond will intersect with Juliet, because, I mean, why is he with Mr. Krabs? What's Mr. Krabs doing there? Are they gonna interact with the others? And Mr. Krabs works for the army, right?
I
guess the government... I mean, the government probably just did not take Dharma being killed off. I don't think they liked that. They probably...
Why would the government know about Dharma?
I thought Dharma was with the government.
No, Dharma was just like a research institute.
You know, research institute groups on that level, they're always tied with the government.
No, this was independent. No, this was funded by the Hanso group. It's this...
Okay, I don't know who that is.
Hanso... The only other thing you've heard about Hanso is that his ancestor owned the Black Rock slave ship. So
what a guy.
So they're an old money family.
Even then, I'm sure the government... Well, maybe Mr. Krabs doesn't work for the military anymore, but if he does and the government has some interest in what's going on, I wouldn't be surprised.
Whose backstory are you looking forward to the most in these next 2 episodes?
I mean, now there's so many to choose from. I would love to see more Locke. I think it might be a bit before we get that. I would obviously also love to see more Michael. And, I guess seeing more... Desmond and Juliet, they're on the island. They're kind of what have hooked me the most. I'm not that hooked by Shannon at the moment, even though I think she could get interesting. Kate, the thing about Kate is that it was definitely good. I mean, it was an interesting backstory, blowing things up, running from the government. But it was like good, but not like my favorite backstory. But I could still see, more of Kate running from the government and everything becoming really interesting. I would be down for that.
Okay, well, we still haven't seen Kate's Wax Season 3 flashback yet, so there is going to be that. I'm excited for it. I don't know when it is, but I hope it's soon.
So Kate, here's my Kate Season 3 prediction.
Okay.
A temporary arc. Nah, see, that's just kind of copying from something else I've been reading lately, but okay. A temporary arc where they need to recruit her to take out an even worse criminal, but then after she deals with that, then she has to run from them again.
Okay, well...
But see, that would be good.
It
would be spicy. I'm not saying it would be, fitting, but it's like we said before, when I try to think of Wax Season 3 plotlines, I don't think of boring stuff, I think of crazy stuff.
Right, yeah. No, the point is that it's not they're boring. So, I think we're at the end here, so I hope you will join us next time, where we will be covering Episode 17, 2001 to 2002, and Episode 18, 2002.